That's right. New year, new discoveries, new creations. It means new videos. I'm back. Let's make some wispy clouds. Should we roll the new intro? All right. Roll it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I know. I've been gone offline for a minute and I miss making videos. But the truth is, I came into some really exciting projects earlier this year and they kept me pretty busy. Let's see, I've created a stock footage music video for my new friend Charity called One World, One Love. And I have 2 music videos and a documentary all happening right now. I'll have links to all those projects in the description below. Let me tell you real quick about my big project I'm working on right now, a documentary called Born in Crisis, Turning Struggle into Song. This documentary is about a local Washington, D.C. musician named Emma G. She has had a lifetime of struggles, which include being born with a condition called hydrocephalus, followed by 10 brain surgeries throughout her childhood. And in this documentary, we show how she takes those challenges and deals with them through music and writing songs and coaching others. You can go to www.bornincrisisthefilm.com. At the top, you'll see a link to go to our Kickstarter. We would love to have you as a backer. You can back us for as little as $1, and we appreciate all of the encouragement and the backing that we get for this project. It's a huge endeavor, the largest thing I've ever done. So far, we're real happy with the results, and I'm really excited about it. But you know, my roots are with photography, and I love sharing new tips and tricks. So let's get back at it, shall we? So what I want to talk about today is something that I call wispy clouds. So wispy clouds, to me, are when you see those like wind-blown clouds, like it looks like the winds aloft are just carrying the clouds off. I think it looks so cool in pictures, and you don't always get to capture it. It's a nice little effect that you can make on your photographs. I do it a lot on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen it before. What I wanted to do is share my process with you so you can see how I get that effect on a regular photograph. So we're going to jump into Photoshop. I have this photograph in Photoshop right now. This is a photograph that I took with my medium format 120 roll film camera. It's actually a positive slide, so it's not a negative, and I scanned it on my Epson V600 scanner. As you can see, it needs a lot of work. First thing I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm going to go in to my camera raw filter, and I'm going to do some basic correction here. So first, I want to brighten this image up so it's not so dingy. I'm going to bring my contrast up just because I like a good contrasty photo. I do like to get the blacks down so that they're crushed a little bit. For this image, because of the water, I'm going to bring up my clarity just a little bit, and I'm going to bring my haze up, which really kind of deepens the colors. And then I'm going to play with my vibrance a little bit. I want a little bit of saturation, but not too crazy, because I'm going to go down below and do something weird here in a minute. So after I do that, I'm going to go to detail. Because this is a slide scan, a lot of my slides have a little bit of noise in them. These are old pictures. I took this photo probably 20 years ago. So you know, I wasn't that great, and on film, I was, you know, there's always challenges with film. So I am going to denoise this about 25, and just put up some sharpening a little bit. And then I am going to come down here to calibration. And if you haven't seen these calibration settings before, I'm going to do a separate video on this. I just wanted you to see where I go to get some really unique colors. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to move the hue of the red property down a little bit, and then raise the saturation of those reds. Okay, and you can see down here to the left of this hut, it kind of brought that punch of red color in. Now for the sky, I'm going to take these blue hues and I'm going to take them down, which is going to reveal a lot more purple. Okay, and then I can bring the saturation up a little bit. And this is just my style. This is something that I wanted to get to with this photograph. you might prefer to be a little more realistic with your colors, and that's fine. It's just a personal preference. This is the look that I was wanting to go for with this picture. So I click OK, and that takes me back to Photoshop, and it applies those changes. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and crop this, and I think I'm going to make this kind of a wide 16:9 frame, and I'm going to bring this in just a little bit. I kind of want that hut to be on that rule of thirds line, just from a framing perspective, and I don't want to cut off any people here. You know, like if you do that, who's that guy talking to? If you cut the person in half, that's kind of jarring. So you want to give a little bit of room here, like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring this up so that I've got the hut in the middle. Let me get those people back in there. And now you can see the hut is the hut and the boat are generally along that rule of thirds line, which is what I like. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to add more story to this image. You know, what's really going on? What does it really feel like when you're standing there watching the sunset on this finger pier? And one of the ways that I like to do that is by exaggerating some of the elements of the photograph. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this image. I'm going to do a special blur, a path blur on the clouds, and then I'm going to let it come through with a mask. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that right now. So I'm going to hit Control J to duplicate this layer. I'm going to name this top layer water, and I'm going to name the bottom layer sky. We're going to do this sky deal on the bottom. Now, I'm going to hide this top layer. So the top layer is off right now. Because when you apply the path blur, it takes information and just sort of wipes it across the screen. The mistake that a lot of people make is they run these blur filters really close to sharp edges, and then they try to blend them in, and you start to see kind of this halo. You start to see some darkness coming where it shouldn't be, and it kind of looks like you did something to manipulate the photo. So what I like to do is I come over here and I use the patch tool. And again, I'm on my bottom layer. This is the layer that's going to be the sky. Using the patch tool, working horizontally in sections, I'm going to create kind of a square like this. That's not really a square. And pull that over to a place where the hut goes away. And when I let go, it's going to create a nice little cutaway of the hut. Now, because we're going to be blurring this, you don't have to really worry about feathering the edges. I mean, you're going to see some of this for sure. And because we're blurring it, you're really not going to notice it much. Okay, and now I'm going to take a little bit of a bigger section here. Okay, so now I'm going to Command D to deselect that. So now we've basically cut away the edges of the hut, and you can see when I turn this top layer back on, the hut's still there, and the hut's off. So now to this bottom layer, I'm going to go up to Filter, and I'm going to select Path Blur. Path Blur is going to draw a line on the image for me. And on this first line, what you do is you hover over this until you get an arrow, and then you drag that over to where you want it to start. So I'm going to start right here. And then the second point, you want to drag to somewhere, you want to cover about 2/3 of the image, like this. And then I'm going to grab this middle point, and I'm going to bend this line up. And what that's going to do is it's going to blur the clouds in that direction. Now, to add to this wispy effect, I'm going to draw another point here. I just clicked the mouse there. The second point is the bend part when you draw the second line. This isn't the default line you get when you first select Path Blur. So to add a line, you have to first click the beginning point, then you click the bending point, then you come over here and you pick the last point. And you can see how I have these and then you want to double click. So you see how I have these sort of competing lines, which is going to sort of make it seem like, you know, the clouds are wisping around in different directions. And to just kind of add to this effect, I'm going to draw one more. I'm going to kind of sneak in here a little bit. I'm going to draw a point here. My computer's going kind of slow. There we go. And then I'm going to just make this one a small one and give it a little bit of exaggeration here. There. And if you want, you could put another path here just to kind of add to the fun. Okay. Then I come over here, and if you really want to get crazy with this, which I sometimes like to do, you take your speed and you can move it up. Now, if you move it really crazy, it's just going to get insane. In fact, I don't even know if, yeah, I think my computer's processing that. So yeah, that's okay. There we go. And you can see it's so, like, it would look kind of interesting in the water, but you can see in the sky, you can really barely even tell that that's a sky. I want a little bit of texture in there because I want you to see that, you know, that the clouds are doing something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this back down, if I can grab it here, and we're going to put that at about the midpoint. Come on now. Definitely, this is a graphics intensive process. So, okay, so I'm going to back this off just a little bit more. And again, this is the path tool blur, and you can use this for all kinds of different things when you want to add some direction to your blurring. So once we get it to a place where we like it, I'm going to hit OK. Now it's going to apply this to the main image. Time for a sip of water. Five hours later. Got one color. If I had a sponsor, this is where I'd probably talk about my sponsorship, but I don't have a sponsor. If you want to sponsor me, hit me up. I didn't realize my background light went out during that last segment. That was weird. Okay, so what I want to show you is, let me make another layer here so that I can draw on here. So right here is where the edges of that hut were. So you can see that if I had left it the way it was, you see this ghosting that happens on either side. That's what you're trying to avoid, and that's why I used the patch tool and cut the edges of the hut out. Had we not done that, and I tried to run that blur, then what would have happened is we would have gotten that ghosting along these edges. And when we go to blend these images together, you would see the ghosting and it would just look fake. And when we do composites and digital art, we don't want it to look fake. We want it to look, you know, like, wow, that's what it really looked like when I was standing there. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna turn this layer back on. We're gonna put a mask on. We're getting ready to race across the finish line here, so bear with me. I've got my brush selected here. I've got it on a nice soft brush. And my color is set to black because I'm going to be masking away the sky. And I'm going to make my brush nice and big. And just to be less aggressive, I'm just going to take my flow down to about 50%. I can always add more later. And then I'm just going to start wiping this across the clouds. And what happens is it replaces those textured clouds with the wispy clouds from below. Now, as I get closer to the people in the dock, I'm going to make my brush smaller just to give me a little bit more control because I don't want to blur them. And look at that. Isn't that nice? So basically, if I turn this sky layer off, you'll see that what we've done is we've taken away the sky. We can actually clean this up now that we can kind of see what we're doing here. Okay, so Now we turn this back on and we're good to go. So we have the top layer is basically the water in the pier, and the bottom layer is the sky, and we put them together and it looks like a wispy day in North Carolina. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoy doing this kind of stuff, so hopefully I'll be back pretty soon. Definitely please check out our film webpage, bornincrisisthefilm.com. If you know anybody who is interested in music and wants to back us on Kickstarter, we would definitely appreciate the help. Be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss upcoming videos. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. And if you try this, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Gene Sizemore. I would love to see those pictures. Until then, don't forget to discover, create, and share. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.